Hi, I'm Nisha DeGaring, host of Good Things Utah, and I've been a longtime supporter of Todd's Beliefcast. I hope you find inspiration in the courageous stories shared by the amazing people Todd features on his show. The guests serve as shoulders for us to stand on, allowing us to see a little further and cultivate belief in oneself. Remember, you have the dignity and power to change. I encourage you to keep striving and believing in yourself. Enjoy today's podcast.
Welcome back, everybody. This is Todd Sylvester, the host of the Beliefcast. As always, thank you for tuning in, and thanks to my sponsors. I appreciate all your support. Today on the Beliefcast, I am honored to sit down with someone who embodies resilience, purpose, and passion. Jenz Bunnell, who was born into a fight for his life and has been fighting for others ever since. From overcoming a near impossible odds at birth to founding Momentum, a movement dedicated to helping people break chains and become who they are meant to be, Jenz has turned his pain into purpose and struggle into strength. A former Goldman Sachs professional with an MBA and a PhD in progress, he now travels the world speaking, teaching, and empowering people to take their ownership of their lives. His message is simple, but also life-changing, empowering people to save lives, starting with their own. This is going to be a great conversation, and I think it's going to be one we're not going to forget. So, Jenz, welcome to the show.
Oh, man, Todd, thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here. It's a blessing.
Yeah, you bet. I'm so grateful that we connected on LinkedIn, and I've been, looking at all your stuff ever since, and I just, again, love what you're doing. I really get pumped when I see someone who's been through really basically hell and turn that around and start helping others who may be going through the same thing or something similar. So again, props to you and for all the good you're putting in the world.
Thank you so much for that.
Yeah, you bet.
That's the goal, right?
Yeah.
Is you go through things and you come through it in ways so people don't have to maybe avoid what you went through yourself.
Exactly. Well, why don't we start off just for our listeners? Tell us kind of where you grew up and maybe a little bit about your childhood, and then obviously get into, right off the bat, you're in the fight for your life.
Yeah, absolutely. I really, the story starts 12 or I guess 9 years before I was even born, and my mom, she grew up super healthy and happy and talented at what she did, and as a person, and valedictorian of her school, and in the captain of the cheer team, and band and orchestra, choir, all the things. She gets married to my dad, has 2 kids. About her late 20s, gets diagnosed with fibromyalgia. That's pretty severe. So if listeners don't know what that is, it's like day 2 soreness after the gym, but every single day of your life, waking hour, there's no cure. It's just your body constantly hurts.
Jeez.
So she has that, gets diagnosed with that, and she just had a feeling that, hey, like, we need one more kid. And so they start trying, and 5 miscarriages later, 9 years later, still no baby. She lost her 3rd pregnancy in a drunk driving accident, broke her pelvis and back, lost her baby.
Wow.
But she said, I still have a feeling 9 years later. And so on the 6th try, she was able to go full term. And when the baby was born with cerebral hemorrhaging, which is bleeding of the brain, and immediately went into NICU and a little incubator. And, they came back and just told her, like, it's up to the baby now. Like, we've done everything we can.
Dang.
Baby had seizures for about 6 weeks after being born, or 6 months after being born, and then for the first 3 years of its life, immune system and digestive system were just all out of whack. So the baby just cried and cried for 3 years straight. So she's taking care of 2 kids, her own illness and health, managing all that while trying to raise this baby. And if you haven't figured out yet, that baby was me.
Wow.
And so from day one, I had somebody that was willing to fight for me.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest gift that I was given in this life is I've never really had to question my worth. I've never had to question if I'm good enough, because for years before I was born and then the minutes after, I just immediately had somebody that was willing to fight to show me I was worth it.
Yeah.
And I think that's just been something that's instilled in me ever since.
Well, yeah, because again, you really shouldn't have made it, it sounds like.
Yeah.
And to be able to make it, man, that's like you hit the jackpot, you hit the lottery, right? And it probably, you know, helps you look at life with a different perspective that we all try to emulate, right? We should always be grateful to be alive and all these things, but it's sometimes hard when we haven't gone through maybe something like you have that really makes you go, I really am a miracle to be here, right?
Totally. I mean, the thing is I don't remember a thing about that.
Yeah.
But my body does.
Yeah.
And I think growing up, that was just an innate sense that, hey, like, I'm lucky to be here and I'm worth it. Like, I can go after whatever I want to, because I went through something so traumatic, and had somebody fight for me. So it wasn't until I was an adult to like conscientiously look back and be like, wow, like, I'm really, really blessed to be where I am and to have a mother that was willing to fight for me.
Yeah, shout out to your mom. Wow, that's unbelievable, honestly, for her to have to go through all of that. And that says a lot about her. Obviously, she's obviously a fighter and amazing, right? And I know you know this. As a kid, though, when you were younger, were there lasting effects? What happened at birth? Did you feel anything different, or did you not even notice? Like, hey, everything seems fine, and I'm healthy and great, and just curious, like, what was that like?
Yeah, that's the blessing of it all. When I hit about 3, all the symptoms kind of just went away. They said that maybe the seizures would come up later or whatever, but the lasting impact has been nothing but just that knowledge of knowing that I was worth it. And it was such a blessing for me, and it's also a blessing because I don't remember. I didn't have to go through the psychological trauma of it, you know?
Right.
But I mean, maybe my wife would say there's some lasting circumstance or lasting symptoms or whatever, but no, I joke. That's not the case. Everything's been great. I've been able to be healthy and play sports and all that kind of stuff. So,
So you're really involved as a kid in sports, really active, obviously, it sounds like.
Yeah.
So if you don't mind me asking, is your mom still alive today?
Yeah.
Okay. How's she doing?
So she's, man, like you said, she's a fighter. One of the most beautiful things, I work a lot in men's psychology, and it's interesting because I was built by women. I was built by a mother that any individual would be so lucky to have. And she continues to fight for herself and her children every day, and just how she lives. She goes through so much. She has fibromyalgia. She has vertigo, migraine. She has Hashimoto's, like all these different physical ailments. But you meet her, you have no clue. You
have no idea that's happening.
No clue. She is the most lively, happy, loving woman you could ever meet. And man, I just feel so blessed to have been built by somebody like that, and to have that instilled so early. Every day is a war. But again, you would never know it. She is an incredible, incredible woman.
Wow. Well, shout out to her again. We need people like that in our lives that are fighters and can show us we can make it through tough times and that kind of thing. And obviously you had that example growing up,
Yeah.
So, talk about, you go through high school, you graduate, obviously, you move on. You're doing these great things in life. What made you start reflecting back on, I guess, what happened, and really start appreciating, like, oh wow, I really am a miracle to be here? And then how did that lead to you starting to want to make a difference in people's lives?
Yeah, it's a really good question. Like I said, I think there's an element of it that in little parts of my life, I kind of was reminded or shown a little bit of my purpose and why I was doing what I was doing. Even through elementary school, I went to the principal's office more than any other kid.
Really?
But it was because I was beating up the bullies that were picking on other kids.
Okay. So you didn't want to.
I couldn't stand other people making other people feel less than. I wasn't like my dad or mom was like, hey, like you watch out for these people. It was just something inside of me. And even to this day, I get into between things like that I probably shouldn't, because it's not my war to fight, but I just, it's really hard for me. And so even just that, like that side of things of like seeing a need and wanting to help somebody out. Yeah. I would say the pivotal moment, about a year and a half into Goldman Sachs, my wife asked me a question, and she was like, if you could do anything in this world, what would you want to do? And it sat on it. I was like, well, unrealistically, I'd love to play in the NFL, but that's not happening.
Right.
That dream died at my Division II career at Dixie State College. And I was like, more realistically, kind of, I'd love to be a speaker. And it just got my wheels turning. At Goldman, you work a lot of hours. It's really stressful. Yeah. I was like, man, I could get a normal 40-hour week job. I could go and build a speaking platform, and while I'm in the meantime, work the same amount of hours, have the same amount of stress, but just starting to build something I really wanted to do. So I went and got a tech sales job, and about that time, I hit rock bottom in my life and came to terms with an addiction and started down addiction recovery and trauma recovery and personal and marriage and group counseling and therapy. All of that. I was separated from my wife for 6 months. And it just changed everything.
Is that what, if you don't mind me asking, what opened up going down the road of addiction, the separation? Or did this addiction start way before that piece?
Yes, before.
Okay.
The separation was due to I was lying to my wife for 2.5 years.
Oh, boy.
About the addiction.
Was it opiates?
No.
What was it?
It was pornography.
Pornography, okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, pornography and masturbation.
Gotcha. Okay. So, again, lying to her, she finds out, you guys get separated. Was that the low point for you? Like
that was
at
the
that
low point.
Moment, like, oh my gosh, I'm losing my family. I'm losing everything I've wanted, I guess.
Right. And I think it was the low point was when I feel like it came a time where God just was like, hey, look, dude, it's your turn. It's your turn to like really work on yourself and get to a place where you start working on you. Yeah. And so I came clean to my wife and told her everything, and that started the process. It's one of those things that you'd never wish on your worst enemy. Right. But I look back and I wouldn't change it for the world. Yeah. Because it gave me everything.
Can you be more specific for our listeners? Because I think a lot of people tuning in right now are probably struggling with the very same thing you were. What was it that it gave you? What did you learn from it? What are the gifts, I guess, that came from it?
Man, I think the number one thing that path gave me in that process is self-security. Is knowing that even if my wife walked out on me, even if everybody in this world rejected me, I know I'd be okay.
Ooh, what a powerful realization that is, right?
It changed everything.
And the way I interpret that in my own brain, I guess, would be you were comfortable in your own skin. Yeah. Like, and that's, I think, where peace lives, right? When we're just comfortable with us, I think that's amazing.
Totally. And knowing that that it's okay. I'm human. I'm going to have mistakes. I had to come to the terms of in this process of recovery, I'm probably going to relapse. It's almost mandatory for addiction recovery to learn. Not always, but it's a part of it. And so for me to know that, hey, like even if I relapse, I'm a good person. I'm okay. Yeah. I have a mentor that says, like, you're not that 7-month person, or sorry, you're not that 7-minute person. Yeah. You're that 7-month person that's stacked sobriety or whatever. And you can apply that to every aspect of life.
Right. I love that. Very cool.
Yeah.
So you go through this, you're at the darkest moment of your life. What was it that turned things around for you?
Yeah. So pretty quick after I got and this kind of leads into where we are now, but the thing that changed it for me was getting into a men's group. I was in a group of men
Yeah.
that went through the same thing that I did. And you logically know you're not the only person in the world that has done what you've done or struggled what you've struggled. But until you hear it from other people's mouths that they're going through it too, it doesn't sink in. But once you hear it, man, there's so much compassion and connection in that. And that changed so much. And that really gave me a pathway to that self-security that I think was so crucial for my addiction recovery process.
Yeah.
So I started down that path and got with the men's group and started to stack recovery and learn about recovery and all of that. And eventually got back with my wife and kind of came to a point where I was like, man, like speaking's really cool and I do love it. And I was speaking to student athletes before all this. There's more I could do. There's these skills that I've learned, mental and emotional skills that have changed my life for my relationship and the way I view God and everything like that, and how I perform in my job and how I can show up. And so that really catapulted the next phase of momentum, my company.
And did you end up, was the marriage saved? Did you guys get back together?
Yeah.
Started to move forward in that? Okay. Yeah. So that was nice. And it's probably, I mean, I can't speak for your wife, obviously, but probably seeing that you were willing to finally admit and then also put in some work and changing that was probably ultimately what she wanted in the first place.
Yeah, I
think so. Is that accurate?
100%. I think, I mean, as you know, and as we learn, like in a relationship, safety is everything. So when there's that element of betrayal, it's like, you can tell me anything until you're blue in the face. But until I see it and allow time to stack of you showing up, not being perfect, that's what I had to, work through, is not being perfect in that, in that process, right? Because any mistake I made, I'm like, oh my gosh, there's my marriage. It's gone. We're done.
Yeah.
Right. But allowing for that process and getting to a point where, okay, I made a mistake. If my wife left, that's going to be the worst thing ever. And I'm going to be okay.
Yeah.
And then the pressure and the shame and all of that can dissipate even more.
Yeah. Very well said. I've heard that, trust comes from with time plus behavior, right? So it's going to take some time to build trust, because trust can be lost in an instant, right?
Yeah.
But to get it back, unfortunately, it's going to take a lot of time.
Yeah.
And behaviors. They want to be able to see that you're actually doing it, not just saying it, but you're seeing it. And that's what you're saying ultimately.
Yeah. And I almost feel like in this sense, some of it's behavior and a lot of it is just the feel. Yeah. Like people can feel it.
Right.
They can just feel when you're congruent and authentic.
Yeah. Right on. So how long has it been since this experience, the 6 month separation and all that? Where are we at now in this? If we were to say, how far away are we from that?
Yeah, we are 5 years. It'll be from the filming of this, from almost 2 weeks to the day, and so 5 years ago.
5 years ago.
5 years ago, April 2020.
All right. Well, congratulations, by the way. I mean, to be able to fight through that and to go through the ups and downs, like you said, but yet not only go through that, but it almost seems like it set the stage, no pun intended, for you to actually go around and now go make a difference in people's lives. So talk about that, going from this struggle and this challenge to, I'm going to go and speak to people and get on the stage. And not only that, but I'm going to go help people who are struggling.
Yeah. Yeah. I started, I think you gain so much clarity when you begin to live, like I said, congruent and authentic and real with yourself. Like you live on the inside as it is on the outside and vice versa. And I think opportunities that you find yourself, they start to open up when you align yourself in that way. And so I went from there to, as we got back together and navigated and everything again, I was just like, man, there's more that I could do than just speak. I could do mental and emotional skill training. Yeah. And I had worked with student athletes. And so I found a program at the University of Tennessee that allowed you to work with student athletes. And I wanted to get my MBA. So while I got my MBA, I worked with student athletes doing mental and emotional skill training. Nice. And And that got me even more into it. And I got midway through my MBA and I was like, I got my undergrad in business, started at Goldman Sachs. I would love to bring this into the corporate world. And so during my MBA, I transitioned from athletes into the corporate world, and I found a niche in the direct sales world, and started to build, and flew home. We were living in Tennessee, flew back to Utah, fixed up an old car that my brother had on his land that hadn't ran in like 2 years, and took it up the state of Utah up and down the state of Utah for a month straight, just meeting with people, showing them my idea, my plan, and landed the first client on that trip. And it's just built from there, and to where we are lucky enough to support a lot of people on that in that direct sales world.
That's beautiful. So the name of your company is Momentum, correct? Mm-hmm. Why did you come up with that name? What is that? Why does that mean so much to you, and why did you use that?
Yeah, it's a really good question. When I spoke to student athletes, even before my whole process and a little bit after, my keynote and me speaking was all about momentum and creating momentum. And essentially I would talk about how, momentum in sports is everything, yet nothing changes. The rules don't change. The players don't change. Coaches don't change. Nothing changes except for something in here and in here.
Right.
And so if we could learn how to flip our momentum because it's here and here, then we're in an incredible space. And I would compare that to
he's pointing to his mind and heart, just so you guys know.
There you go. Yes, your mind and your heart.
Yeah.
And if you can flip somebody, so like there's a momentum flip in a game, and if you can flip somebody else's momentum, you can at minimum change their life, if not save their life. And so that idea of momentum has always intrigued me, coming from the athlete world, but it's also been something so impactful to me as well.
So love that. And how do you, Jenz, help someone who needs that momentum flip or that momentum change? Like, how do you do that when someone's maybe stuck and going in the wrong direction? What's are some of the things that you maybe incorporate in what you do? Yeah,
I think just like in a day-to-day kind of setting, in day-to-day life, the worst thing we can do is go up and say, hey, like, you need to do this, you need to do that, and start to like give advice that people will run from that, right? Or
they're like, I've heard that, I know.
I think one of the best ways is, one, you do your own work and you live it yourself. And so it gives the opportunity for others to see you living a momentous life, like living a life of momentum. And so they can start to change it themselves, right? I think other than that, like as far as an actual action, I'm a huge believer is that you can love people into places that they've never been.
I like that.
Yeah.
Love is powerful, right? It really is. Well, you obviously care about what you do, and you obviously care about your clients, and which is amazing. You talk about you want people to become who they were meant to be. So if we were to just answer that question, what does that mean? Who are we meant to be? What does that mean to you?
Yeah. I think that is one of the underlying desires of all of us, is to understand, like, who am I meant to be? I'm sure you've came across it too, of how many clients have like, I don't know my purpose. I don't know why I'm here. I don't know what is this all for?
Yeah, all the time.
Right. And I think that sometimes we get lost in having like that end thing. And it's a beautiful thing to have it, like, okay, I want to be here at the end. Really, in my opinion, who we're meant to be is part of that is the people that are trying to find who they're meant to be.
Yeah.
Like that's who we're supposed to be, people that are searching, that are creating, that are growing. That part of that being who you're meant to be is searching for who you're meant to be.
Yeah.
It's in embracing that I might not know exactly. I have faith I'm going to find it. I have hope that it's going to come.
Yeah.
And I think a layer deeper of that, of who we're meant to be, a lot of that is we're not going to find it in the outside world. I'm a huge believer that it's already inside of you, and we have to navigate and create some clarity so that can come out. And so you can trust it and then go do the scary thing to make it happen.
I love that. Yeah, and you're right. A lot of my clients, I mean, if not all of them, struggle with what's my purpose? Why am I here? And I like to say it this way because, I'm meeting with people just like you who are just struggling in life. Mine's really wrapped around mental health and addiction. And I always say this, I already know what your purpose is. Your purpose is to help other people. Now, it's very broad. I know that. It's your job to figure out how you're going to do that. Right? And I just try to simplify it for them a little bit because, you think about it, your purpose obviously is to help other people, but you had to figure out what's that look like for you and
spot on.
How do you dial that in, right?
Yeah.
And I love the name, by the way, Momentum. I think it's so cool because I think people hear that, oh, that makes sense. I want some momentum in my life,
Yeah.
And maybe it starts with, I made my bed this morning,
right.
Got a little momentum there,
yeah.
little things, and so, but no, I love that. Tell us what momentum is. Like if someone was to come across your company, what is it, the whole thing, what does it look like?
Yeah, good question. We have two sides of what we do at Momentum. One side is the direct sales world. We're really heavy in the direct sales world, especially the door-to-door world. Yeah. And we provide companies with performance psychology coaches that help their reps and their people and their leaders with mental and emotional performance training.
Nice. I love it.
So everything in sales but sales. It's everything mentally and emotionally.
Okay.
So we help with that and culture and retention and things like that. On the other side is our men's psychology side. And we have a men's group that or a men's program and a men's community. Our men's community is year-round. We have weekly calls. Men, it's really built off of skills around self-security, masculinity, and stepping into that so you can live a fulfilled life in your relationship specifically. So it's men all across the country. We meet weekly. And then our men's program is a 3-month intensive program. It's called Momentous Man. It starts with a 3-day retreat and steps cool. into, we step into masculinity, owning your heart, learning your voice, being able to be a fighter and a lover. Because if you're just one, then you do both poorly. Right. So, and then we have a virtual side of it for 3 months. So that's the two sides. We have our performance psychology piece and our men's psychology piece.
Man, I love that. Yeah. And so if someone, when they sign up, do they do one or the other, or is it the whole program? You do both? For the men, or it just depends, I guess.
Yeah. So for like the men's psychology piece, you can usually, one will join Legion, which is our community.
Okay.
And then if they would like to, they do Momentous Man, or maybe they find Momentous Man first and they do that program. Once it ends after the 3 months, a lot of them are like, well, I want to continue this kind of connection with other men and this skill building, self-development. Okay. So they'll join Legion.
So outside of the direct sales, who's your typical client checking in? Like, what is their normal, I guess, if there's a common struggle that they have, or is it all different?
Yeah, I would say, because outside of the direct sales and like the corporate psychology side, because we focus on the men's side, I'd say the main thing is men being able to navigate how to show up for themselves.
Okay.
And create a life where they feel fulfilled, as well as living their responsibility of what they really want to do, which is show up for their families in a really impactful way. Yeah. Yet we just a lot of times compromise our own selves and our own joy and everything like that in order to do that.
Yeah. That's very common, huh?
Yep. Eventually we just become shell of a man,
Yeah. No, again, congrats on what you're doing. I think that's amazing. So that's a good job.
Thank you.
What do you do? Just jumping back a little bit in your story, you went through this struggle. You're at the darkest place of your life, and obviously you turned some things around. Mm-hmm. How do you kind of maintain or keep yourself, sharp, if you will, and on task and on your purpose? Mm-hmm. So not only can you show up for your clients and the things you're doing, but also, again, show up for yourself, like you said, and, your family.
Yeah. It's a really good question, because I feel like sometimes you get in these, like, this is what we do as our career, and people come to us as far as maybe an expert or whatever it might be.
I want to take a moment to express my heartfelt gratitude to the incredible sponsors of the Beliefcast podcast. First, Craig from Craig Swapp and Associates. If you need an attorney, he's your guy. Trustworthy, compassionate, always there when you need him most. Next, Wasatch Recovery, the greatest university on the planet, transforming lives one day at a time. Sandy from Minky Couture, the creative genius behind the most comfortable blanket you'll ever wrap yourself in. Comfort like no other. Yeah.
That doesn't mean that I have it all figured out.
Right.
That doesn't mean that I'm not in the trenches like every other human being on this earth.
Yeah.
And that's been something that I learned at the beginning of my process with recovery and trauma, recovery and healing and all that. Was I had a really humble therapist and psychologist essentially say that, like, look, man, I'm not perfect either, and I don't have all the answers, and that's not what I'm here for even. Like, I'm a human too.
Yeah.
And that gave me so much solace. So this person I respected and that was helping me so much was also human.
Yeah.
They also struggled. So I think number one, that's what comes to mind is, like, I'm in the trenches just like everybody else. A few of the things that I do, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, Stephen R. Covey talks about first things first.
Yeah.
And that's something I've really implemented in my life of, okay, what are the most important things in my life that I can do for me? And what that looks like for me is breath work in the morning, journaling in the morning, praying in the morning, reading a spiritual reading in the morning.
Yeah.
Making sure, and then being physical and being able to take care of my body in that way. But especially those first 4 things I listed every single day, I feel like has been a beautiful reset for me.
Yeah.
And then I don't go very long, if long at all, without going to my own counselor, my own psychologist, my own therapist.
Sure.
Right? Because again, I'm in the trenches just like in everybody else. The difference is I can help people with their stuff because it's not mine. Right. I need somebody else to help me with my stuff.
Right. Very well said. Yeah, I love that. And again, there's power in being humble and being real with someone. Yeah. Like you said, the people that have helped you were really humble and said, hey, I'm struggling too, just so you know. And I do the same thing with my own clients. Like, the only difference between me and you is I'm a little further down the road with not putting poison in my body.
Yeah.
That's other than that, we're pretty much the same, so,
That's a good way to put
and
it.
I think people really do appreciate that, because then it's like, okay, this person's a real person. They get it. They understand me, but they're, I heard this. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Do you ever watch Ted Lasso?
Yeah, we haven't watched the whole thing, but yeah.
Well, there's a scene where he quotes Walt Whitman, and I looked it up, and I don't think Walt Whitman even said it. So I'm going to give credit to Ted Lasso. But he says, be curious and not judgmental. And I love that, because I want to hear your thoughts on this. Like, if I'm curious about you, Jenz, about your life, I'm going to ask you a lot of questions. And when I ask you a lot of questions, I'm going to get to know you, right? I'm going to get to know your life. And once I get to know you, it would be impossible for me not to like you. Versus if I judge you because of your struggles or whatever it may be, I don't ask questions. I just immediately made up my mind. So then I don't even get to know you.
Yeah.
And it's no different with our clients, right? Yeah. We're curious about, hey, why are you struggling? We're not judging. We're curious.
Yeah.
So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think it's beautiful as far as the curiosity piece. And you saying that, I love that, because I haven't heard that from Ted Lasso. I actually preach something very similar, but on the other end of, hey, let's not get defensive. Let's get curious. So it's like, hey, I'm going to be outwardly curious of, hey, what are you struggling with? What's going on? Instead of judgment, I'm going to judge you. Also, like, if you come to me and be like, hey, you did this and you hurt me, I have choices. I can either get defensive or I can be like, I didn't realize that me saying that, tell me more about that.
Yeah.
Why did that hurt you?
Yeah, exactly.
Right? The curiosity piece. And I think what the seed of both of those is that wisdom is wisdom. And if we can approach life in a sense of what I learn wherever I learn it from, whether it's somebody that's I feel is attacking me, or somebody that I feel like is less than me that I might judge or whatever. But if I can learn from them, if I can gain information from them, whether it's how they live their life or why they're struggling, how they made it through, why that my words hurt them, that's wisdom.
Yeah.
And I can use it for my own life to help myself and to help others too.
Yeah.
Wisdom is wisdom.
Yeah. Well said. You know, and I also like to point it back to the individual. Like if I make a mistake, instead of judging myself, be curious, right?
Yeah.
Like, why did I do what I just did?
Yeah.
Why am I doing that really bad behavior right now, you know?
Yeah.
And it's hard to do that in the moment, especially because we're human and we have emotions and, man, we feel deeply and, you know, so on. But I've really tried to incorporate that in my own life as well. It's like, okay, if I screw up, sit back, Todd, for a minute and be curious. Why am I doing this? And when I do that, I start to ask myself some questions, and then I start to get to know why I did what I did. Versus in the past, I've always been so quick to just judge myself. I'm just a bad person. I suck. You know, that kind of thing. And so I try to teach some of my clients that too, but it sounds like you're doing the same thing.
Well, that's spot on. It reminds me of in the recovery process. It's so interesting. I feel like addiction recovery, everybody just needs to like go have an addiction and then come back and learn, because then you're like, your life is so much better.
I know, it really is. Yeah.
But there's just so
but we don't recommend that.
No. I'm just,
you never know. I know.
I'm totally
No,
kidding.
I think what you're saying is it's okay. Struggle is part of life, but the struggle is where we're going to learn.
Yeah.
It's where we're going to grow, whether it's an addiction, whether it's, you know, a health issue, like you, I mean, you started life out that way.
Yeah.
I mean, look at your mom. I mean, what a powerhouse she is. Yeah. But she wouldn't be this powerhouse had she not gone through it, you know? But anyway, but yeah, exactly. I totally get what you're saying.
No, the principles, I just say that because the principles that I've learned through it, again, wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy, but wouldn't change it for the world. One of those principles is, I think what you're saying is, when we do something that we said we weren't going to do, or we're not doing something that we want to do, the quicker that we shame ourselves or judge ourselves, the quicker that behavior will perpetuate.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
The quicker that we give ourselves compassion and love, the longer stints will go without doing that thing or starting to do the thing we know we need to do. When I started to have the longest stints of sobriety was when I relapsed, and I would go and do my favorite thing or buy my favorite food or do something for myself right after, like celebrating. I didn't want to do it. I didn't feel like I deserved it at all. Yet that sense of self-love and compassion created so much knowledge and perspective on who I was and life and what it's about, that's what started to help me create healthier habits.
Yeah. No, that's beautifully said. You know, I usually like to share a quote with my guests, you know, and I one comes to mind, and I think it's because you've got these cool necklaces on right now. And it's by Rumi. Are you familiar with Rumi, the 13th century Persian poet?
No.
Anyway, R-U-M-I.
Okay. I've seen the name.
Yeah, you've seen the name, I'm sure. He's got amazing quotes, but he has one, and I think this lines up with what you're trying to teach. But I want to hear your thoughts, so you might have to think about this for a second. And he says, quote, "Stop looking for the diamond necklace that's already around your neck," unquote. So what do you think that means, and how does that line up with what you do?
Yeah, it's beautiful. I kind of already mentioned, I feel like it's already inside you. Yeah. It's already there.
Yeah.
So often we look up to people and aspire to be where they are or have what they have, when, kind of like you said, you're not too far off from that. They just might be a little further down the road. Yeah. It's already in there.
Well, and if we think about it, what we do with our clients, like, it's almost as if we could visualize what's going on with that quote.
Yeah.
We have someone who's struggling, and they're looking in like the couch cushions for their diamond necklace. And our job is like, hey, dude, it's already around your neck. What are you doing?
It's right there.
It's right there. And I think a lot of times, because that's what I discovered when I finally got my life turned around, because of some amazing people in my life that showed me the way. But really, they did what you're doing with your clients. They showed me my worth is already there. I don't have to go do this, and this, and then I'm worthy. I'm already worthy. And that's really what you preach.
Yeah, I mean, how many of us, grow up and come into adulthood and thinking, oh, I need to make this person happy and this person happy and this person think about me in this way.
Yeah.
So therefore, I can feel like I'm enough. I can feel like I'm good. I can feel like all of that. I feel like men, we struggle with that immensely when we get into marriages with women. For my whole life, I was dependent on my mom to give me what I needed. So now I need to please this woman in my life, happy wife, happy life.
Yeah.
So I can feel like I'm a good man and a good husband and a good father and so on.
Yeah.
When all reality, all of that, to your point and to that quote's point, it's around your neck.
Yeah.
It's there.
You got
it's
it.
already there.
You got it.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Thanks for letting me share that. And I really love your insight on it.
Yeah.
If people want to find out more about Momentum and more about you, and they want to learn what you do and follow you, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah. Our website is momentumwe.com. All of our, especially like our men's stuff is on there. And then Jenz Bunnell on Instagram or any other social media platform.
Yeah. Jenz Bunnell. And I'll put those links in the show notes and all that stuff. One final question. If someone's tuning in, listening to your voice right now, they're in a dark place, they're struggling, what would you tell that one person right now?
The people that maybe are struggling and listening, the knowledge that you were sent here at a specific time in your lineage right now for a specific reason, to be a person that breaks a chain. The person that might be struggling now is probably holding things that they were given from generation to generation to generation to generation. And we, you, the listener, me, we all have an opportunity to break that chain.
Yeah.
Whatever it is. And so that those people that follow you, your children, your children's children, the people around you, will never have to experience the things that you have gone through in your life. They'll experience their own struggles.
Yeah.
But they'll have somebody, a chain breaker, somebody in their life that they'll one day point up to the heavens standing at your grave saying it was him, it was her. They're the ones that broke this chain. They're the ones that made the difference. They're the ones that changed this so the people I love the most never have to feel what I felt.
Wow.
So if you're struggling, know that that's inside you and there's a purpose for you.
Dang. Mic drop. Very well said. Thank you for sharing that. And thank you for being willing to come on my show. I'm so glad you reached out. It's been great to get to see what you're doing and to, we think a lot alike on so many things, and it's just grateful to know that as well.
Yeah.
And just, thank you for being here and taking some time and being vulnerable with your life with us today.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Todd. It's been a pleasure. Appreciate you. Thank you for all you do.
Thank you. Well, there you go, folks. Another amazing episode. Jenz Bunnell. Please reach out to him and check out what he's doing. It's really amazing stuff. And if you have a loved one who's struggling or just in a dark place, as I always say, send them a link to this episode, and it'll kind of open their eyes and help them, get through whatever they're going through at this time. So thank you again to my sponsors and to all of you for tuning in week after week. I love you so much. Till next time, everyone. Take care.